Today's video, I'll be doing a beach scene with puffy clouds and a dory. And I start out the painting wet on wet, doing a base coat throughout the whole piece, and slowly start introducing my clouds in the background, as I always try to finish the background first and layer on top. I'm working on the water and the sky simultaneously, and as you can see, I put a light pigment of a cobalt blue down, and now I'm basically working the pigment out with a clean brush and a clean paper towel, and just using the paper towel to get the puffy effect, leaving the pigment behind, and always keeping an eye on watermarks, because it seems to be a constant with watercolor. If you leave anything too long, you'll end up, if you haven't kept an eye on it, you'll oftentimes see a watermark that needs to be corrected immediately. You wait too long and that watermark is permanent. As you see, I'm going behind the clouds to bring in a little more pigment. That's ultramarine, tiny bit of Payne's gray, and a lot of water, and just kind of making a shadow behind the clouds to exaggerate the clouds, kind of doing a little pointillism behind them even more. And then I'm going to just kind of feather it out, coming back into the horizon line. As you'll notice, I kind of work throughout the piece, and sometimes I have to do that, even though it sounds like I'm contradicting myself that I say I finished the background. I have to let the paint dry and the paper dry a little bit to go back in, to keep the control I like to have on the painting. Because if I keep going in while it's too wet, I'll end up with mud. So sometimes I end up moving around the painting and then coming back, ultimately trying to finish the background first and then work forward. Let me know in the comments if you have any techniques that are similar or different than what I do. I'd love to hear from you. And now I'm going into the water, just giving a light wash, kind of to get my plan out as to where my shoreline is going to end and the water will begin. As always, I flip upside down. This time I'm needing to do that because I'm working the clouds a little more intensely, bringing in a little more pigment, a little more dry this time, as you can see, feathering out. And this one I'm working with a cobalt blue and a little bit of burnt sienna, tiny bit. And then again, just feathering, keeping my paper towel handy, because I just need to keep an eye on this thing the whole time. I don't want it to be like outline of puffy clouds, because that's not how it is in nature. So I don't want it to be a finite line, so that hence the stroking with the feather brush, the fan brush, I mean, back and forth with that, keeps that fluid line going and fogs it up. You know, it's funny with my palette. I have a very messy palette, and I don't know if it's the New Englander in me that I hate to throw anything out, but there are parts of my palette that are just so messy, and I hate to discard it, because there are times that little bit of muddy blue or the muddy black brown is just what I need. So I never get rid of any of that. And like now I'm finding a little part on my palette that was from probably another painting I did that I'm using in this area. And you see where I'm just bringing in enough pigment to put that cloud on the top of that background. and obviously needing to go into the front of the cloud and give a little bit of definition. Not too much, but just enough. And a few minutes before, I lifted the paint up, the paper up, I should say, to let the water drip down, so it wouldn't give a water stain. Coming into that horizon line again with a little bit of Payne's Gray and the ultramarine blue with a touch of the burnt sienna. Makes a really nice color there. Fanning it out as I always do. Flipping it around, getting a better angle at it. I feel like I'm constantly flipping the painting. You know, just keeping an eye on the water spots throughout. Trying not to overwork the piece. Keeping in mind it is a watercolor and doesn't have to be thick and textured, light and airy. The big question of the day is when to stop, right? Always when to stop with a painting. Just fanning that out a little bit. Seems to be a little bit of a tough spot right there. It wanted to become a water stain. I didn't want to let it. What are your favorite colors in painting skies? I'd really like to hear from you guys as to tips you have and what works best for you as well. And now I'm almost done with the background, so I'm going to come into the foreground, working the beach area. Just keeping it fluid with the shore. Keeping in mind the strokes always going horizontally here with the way the shoreline moves. That fan brush is a must in working in this area. Flipping upside down again, as always. Trying to keep that horizon line not too rigid. Just going to touch the clouds a little bit just for that last intensity. And I'll fan that out again with a little bit of water. It doesn't need much. And you know, with nature and clouds, they can be all sorts of shapes. It's whatever strikes your fancy, really. And here I'm coming in with yellow ochre and burnt sienna, intensifying the beach a little bit more, blending it into the water, and just doing a little more of a dry stroke with this, just to get the texture, but not too much texture, because I really want this smooth. I actually brought in some cad orange into my yellow ochre and burnt sienna in a couple of spots that really just helped to, and I think I actually brought in some alizarin crimson too. Again, that messy palette of mine. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just, I've had this palette for probably 20 years. Seriously. It's like my right hand. And I am bringing in, I penciled in a little dory just for interest. And I'm starting to do the shadow underneath and around it so I can get that boat popping. This is the fun part for me. I really like the last details of a painting when I see it come together. I'm going to keep it in kind of the earthy colors to go with the piece. It's definitely got the cad orange and the burnt sienna there with probably a little bit of Payne's gray. Keeping in mind my shadows. And grounding that boat into the beach. It just gives a little bit of interest with the Payne's gray, that little bit of dark to me. Like, I swear I'm addicted to Payne's gray, but hey, there are worse addictions, I guess. I think I say Payne's gray in every painting about 20 times. Again, paying attention to the light. Where's the light coming from? And being true to that shadow so that the boat makes sense and how it's grounded. Coming in with that opaque cream, just a touch to give a couple highlights. The piece has been fun. You know, and I'll probably come back in a day or so and look at it again and decide it needs a couple of tiny little touches, but for the most part, I've been happy with it. I tried to do this rope and then discovered it was just way too thick, so I wiped it right out. I had a few minutes immediately to do that and was able to get rid of it and decided in the end to just put a little pencil mark. So it worked out. Like I've always said, you only have a few minutes to really get rid of the paint. I hope you've liked this little tutorial, and I hope you keep watching. If you're liking what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you at the next painting. Keep painting yourself and keep watching. I appreciate it. You have a great day.